Hi everyone, I'm back. Today is the 29th of March 2022. I'm here to share a really important warning. This was given to me by the Lord a couple of days ago. As soon as I received this vision, I knew immediately that He was tying this in with a previous set of warnings He gave me 10 months ago. And I did share this on YouTube, and there was another video I made also, but I can't find it. But the one, firstly, there's one that you will find. It's 10 months ago. You will see the thumbnail has a large, bright orange, angry storm cloud on it, and the video was entitled The Storm and Collapse, Destruction and the End. Everyone, I recommend perhaps you go back and have a look at this because it's of the same theme. And this is what God does when He gives His people messages. He will give us warnings prior to an event happening or a time coming to pass in history. And then He will remind us, and possibly there will be another reminder even later along. But He's not dropping this theme, and as soon as I saw this vision, I knew immediately it was important and that it shouldn't be disregarded because it's confirmation of the previous warnings He's given me. I was actually trying to find a video. I know I saw it recently. It's in my set of videos somewhere. Some of you might know which one it is. But it was about some visions God gave me of ships and how He said to get on the ship. And it was a warning that we had to be ready. We had to be on Jesus' side, have Jesus as our captain because the storm was coming. So that's two lots of videos that God has given me in the last year or so about the storm approaching and that we had to be on the ship. We had to be with our captain and strong in our faith. So brothers and sisters, this is important. It's a reminder yet again about the storm. And I want to give you a quick, brief explanation of this type of vision that I received. Just in the last 2 or 3 months, God has been waking me up with a particular type of vision. He still gives me things during the night, wakes me up, gives me messages. But just before I open my eyes, He's been starting to give me rolling visions. They're quite long, and He will show me images. They're quite abstract, but it will tell a story. And recently, during this period of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, I have seen many images, rolling images of men in battle stances, holding long sticks as if to go to battle. They've been wearing camouflage uniforms. Yes, so, and as I say, they're a rolling active vision where I'll see different scenes. And it's been quite expected now for me. Not every day, but often during a week, I will receive these visions just before I open my eyes. Now, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, on the 27th, I received another one, but it struck me. This one was completely different. The colours were different. Instead of the camouflage greys and greens, this was in sort of a stormy orange brown. And what I saw were scenes of a shipwreck and a storm at sea. I saw interesting images, brothers and sisters. I saw debris from the ship that had broken up. You know how you see the debris floating on the waves? I saw the debris. I think I probably saw people floating too in distress, but I can't say that I actually wrote that down. But there were a couple of things, well, maybe 3 or 4 things that I definitely saw. One was a sign that said, Paul found. Yes, the Apostle Paul. Paul found. Another thing I saw was a sign that said, stay afloat. And as I said, I saw the debris. I also saw a life ring, and I think that's really important. The ones that they cast out to somebody that's fallen overboard in an effort to keep them afloat until help could be got to them. Now, another important thing that I want to share is with one of those previous visions where I said that I saw the ship, the beautiful ship in my vision, and God said, "Get ye on the ship," or some words to that meaning. And I saw somebody who looked like they were about to fall off the ship. You might remember that. I just can't find that video today. But one of the things that he said to me that day was that we had to be ready to swim if we weren't on the ship. And he said, you must be good swimmers. In other words, brothers and sisters, for those of you, I'm not saying necessarily you, the subscribers of my channel, but for people who are not believers, if they haven't put their faith and trust in Jesus, their captain, they must be prepared to go into the sea, into the stormy sea, and be tossed about, and they must be good swimmers or they're not going to survive. In other words, brothers and sisters, Jesus is trying to say to us, it's so much better to be ready and to have already given our lives to him before the storm approaches and actually hits us. And I believe because this is a second warning, we are getting so close. So for any of you that have not given your life to Jesus Christ, the storm is coming, the tribulation is coming. Don't rely on your ability to swim. Now, because God showed me that sign in this vision, Paul found, I wanted to just quickly refer to those scriptures in Acts 26, I think, or 27. You might like to look at those chapters. I reread them because I felt he was saying it's significant here. He wants us to learn a few things from this particular chapter. So I'm just going to go to the scriptures now, brothers and sisters. I won't be a moment, and I won't read a lot of them. I suspect that it might be better if you read through the chapters in their fullness yourself. Now, one of the amazing things that I noticed was that in these chapters of Acts 26 and 27, it says that Paul already had warned the ship's captain and the crew that they shouldn't carry on with this journey they were making. Paul had been taken prisoner and he was being delivered to Rome. And it must have been at a certain time or season in the Mediterranean where the weather was turning, in that they needed to stay somewhere for the winter, but they couldn't find a safe anchorage. And Paul said to them, don't go on. It is not going to be good for us. We'll all die. And yet they didn't heed his warning. And it makes me feel a little bit like I put that warning out 10 months ago. And if you haven't heeded that warning, it's coming up again. And because they didn't heed the warning, they found themselves in this horrendous storm, and they were having to throw things overboard to try and keep the ship afloat. It was getting critical. They weren't able to eat, and they felt their lives were going to be lost. Okay, I'm just going to read just a few verses from chapter 27 because it's got a really important couple of interesting facts that I think we can learn from. Okay, verse 27, it says, but after long abstinence from food, then Paul stood in the midst of them and said, men, you should have listened to me and not sailed from Crete and incurred this disaster and loss. And now I urge you to take heart, for there will be no loss of life among you, but only the ship. For there stood by me this night an angel of God to whom I belong and whom I serve, saying, do not be afraid, Paul. You must be brought before Caesar. And indeed God has granted you and all those who sail with you their lives. Therefore take heart, men, for I believe God that it will be just as he told me. However, we must run aground on a certain island. Finally, the people on the ship decided to listen to Paul. And isn't it interesting that Paul was the believer? An angel came to him, a miraculous salvation, so to speak. The unbelievers were able to be saved because of Paul's faith, because of God's revelation to Paul. In other words, brothers and sisters, it's a bit like the debris in the ocean. We need, if you find yourself an unbeliever and the storm hits, cling to those things that belong to the ship, whether it be a part of the wreckage that helps you float, whether it be the life ring, whether it be pages from a Bible, or whether it be the Lord's Prayer that you heard when you were a youngster. Reach out to Jesus and he will save you. He will pluck you from the tempest, but you need to reach out. The other thing that I thought was really cool is that the angel said, you need to go and go before Caesar. You need to get there. We are going to make sure this happens. So nothing is going to stand in our way. A storm, a shipwreck, nothing. Paul was shipwrecked 3 times in his ministry, but was saved because it wasn't God's purpose that he should die. Now, even just on the next morning when they could see the beach in front of them of Malta, the people on the ship, the crew and the prisoners, they wanted to abandon the ship and get in the life raft. And Paul had to say no. God said you will not survive if you don't stay with the ship. Isn't that cool, brothers and sisters? Because God told me all those months ago, get on the ship. It's not going to be the life raft that saves us. It's the ship of Jesus Christ. I need say no more. Brothers and sisters, or anyone else that is watching, reach out to Jesus as your captain. The storm is coming. It may have even begun. Be safe in this tempest. Bye for now.